We're going to go over some facts and figures today for R&L Festival 2019, and that's going to be it. Done. So I thought we would just go over some of the stats that I've collected from this huge database that I've put together over the last year, just as kind of alongside doing the Who the Fuck series. So I've managed to capture all sorts of information, and I thought it'd be really interesting to share that with you, and we can discuss it. Here? Yeah, that's not too bad. Also, that might be a nice idea just to kind of put some got on a walk around Brisbane as we do this. So, like a bit of a fool, I've come home and re-imported some of this footage and realised that going for a walk around Brisbane probably wasn't the best of ideas. You have this kind of noise. I guess it is what it is, really. There's nothing really that we can do about it. So I thought it'd be a really good idea to just talk about some of the bands. So we'll be cutting in between me being outside and me being inside. If it makes no sense, that's why, because this camera's microphone is just dreadful and Brisbane is very loud. So first things first, I just wanted to talk about the amount of bands that played this year. So we had 193 acts announced in total. Let me just pull up the figures on this one though, because it's really interesting. This year was the biggest year where people had pulled out, and it was so shocking the amount of people that had pulled out. Before even looking at the stats, you can tell this is one of the biggest years. I've never seen so many different people announced to not being played. Part of me wonders whether that's because I was tracking it as we went along, but I think that it's probably not quite as straightforward as that. This seemed like an awful lot. So total dropouts was 14 acts, which is 7%, meaning that there was a total acts that played as 179, which is 92% of what was announced was the people that played. In comparison to previous years, last year, for example, 6 acts pulled out, but they had a total of 203 acts that played across the weekend. So that works out as like 3%, which is nothing. More than double this year. I guess if you announce less and more people drop out, then that has more of an impact on the percentage. 2015 we had 206 people announced, 2016 was 193, 2017 was 214 acts, 203 in 2018. So, you know, if compared to 2017, we're looking at a deficit of 35 bands. So I don't really understand why or what was different this year. It would be interesting to see some kind of some acknowledgement from Festival Republic about it, but you know, I don't think that's going to happen somehow. And it would be lovely if next year we could get like a discount or something for seeing significantly less. At the end of the day, look, you can only see so much. I hit my record this year at 40 bands. I think that's too many to watch anyway, but it would be really interesting to see a bit more of a reason as to why. So the people that pulled out, Blindhaven pulled out pretty early on. They were replaced by Crystal Fighters on the Sunday headlining the Festival Republic stage. I think they're the only band that pulled out. Everyone else is a solo artist, so I don't know if there's a part there around solo artists. I guess if you're in a band and you pull out, you're letting down the rest of the band members, whereas if you're a solo artist, then you're only letting down yourself. Well, and their fans, obviously. So Blindhaven pulled out, replaced by Crystal Fighters. G-Flip was due to play, but pulled out for unknown reasons. You had UK drill rapper Lowski pulled out, probably due to the fact that he was arrested for carrying a firearm. Fellow UK drill rapper Unknown T went to prison for murder and is due to go on trial. Gecko was also supposed to perform on the Radio 1 Extra stage, but it was unknown as to why. Brunswick was also pulled out for unknown reasons, but that was again, he did the same last year, which was the shocking part there. 2 days before the festival, Lil Uzi Vert pulled out, which is a big name to pull out, moving all sorts of people around, getting Simmons onto the main stage. Comethazine and Massacre both pulled out from the 1 Extra stage, being replaced by Emma and Huncho and DJ Grievous. King Princess was due to perform on the Radio 1 stage, but had to pull out due to illness, and H ended up taking her slot. And Juice WRLD was supposed to perform on the main stage on the Friday at Reading, but had to cancel his performance due to flight issues. And Blade Brown wasn't able to perform because he was stuck in traffic. Not a good enough excuse, if you ask me. So, yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of people to pull out, and it's a bit of a shocker. Now let's head back to, I believe I'm in a lift at this point. But, you know, oh, look at this view. But that's a big number for people to drop out. It's a very, very, very big number for people to drop out for no reason. And, yeah, that's not okay. Interested to see why that is, and I think more people need more answers for that in the future. The next one is genres, which I find fascinating. I did this video about 18 months ago. I believe it came out in March last year. It was when I was moving house, called Is Reading Festival Still a Rock Festival? There'll be a link to it so you can watch it if you want to go back and watch that video. Back to where we were. I'm just sick of hearing people say that it's not as good as it used to be as a festival, and I'm just comparing the lineup to previous years and seeing what that's actually about. So I ended up doing this video which just talked about the kind of genre splits around the festival and working out who was where, and God, the light here is just very bright. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of look at everyone saying that it wasn't a rock festival anymore, and I wanted to challenge that, if I'm honest with you. Because clearly is still a rock festival, but I needed the numbers to back that up. You can go back and watch that video if you want to. It's very old and I'm not very good at speaking to a camera at that point, but the facts are still there, I suppose. So yeah, in previous years it was, I've really questioned whether or not it was still a rock festival. To do that, I've always said it just needs to have the majority of the music that's being played, I think, just has to be guitar driven or band based. And I think last year that dipped into like 45%, 47%, 49%. As part of this, I've kind of gone along and done something similar. I've split everything into kind of 4 major categories. I have pop, I have alternative, I have urban, and I have dance. So if you're dance and electronic, if you're a DJ, then chances are you're probably ending up in the dance category. If you're a rapper, the chances are you're probably going to end up in the urban category. Now there are exceptions to this. For example, I put Amy Becker and all the One Extra DJs into the urban category. And you know, when you start looking at people like Ghostmain and you start looking at people like Bexy, that boundary crosses between kind of rock and rap, and I don't think it's as obvious as what I'm making it out to be. But I've done it. I put everything into those categories, and the numbers are pretty interesting. I think the thing that shocked me the most was just the difference in how little dance music there was this year. You know, there was a time where dance music made up like a quarter of what was happening, if not more, 30%, I think 29% a couple of years ago. And it's just mad to say that it's just not as representative. Bearing in mind there's an entire dance stage, there was a lot of non-dance based music on it. But you know, this year, only 20 dance acts, so it's 20 DJs or crews. Look, Crewcast and SAS had massive. So it's kind of no wonder I didn't count them all individually, but you know, you expect more and more to get announced in comparison to previous years. 20 acts, that's 10%, less than 10% actually, but it's just over 9. So anyway, that was a big shock for me. One of the big differences for me was in pop music. 21 pop bands announced, or pop acts announced. You know, you look at people like Alma or Billie Eilish or Charlie XCX. More and more that became way more prominent. And I'm not just talking about R&B acts, I put them more in your kind of urban acts, but pop, serious increase this year, serious increase. Very shocked by that, up to 21%. So 2 years ago, pop music represented 2% of the lineup. Last year it went up to 5%, you know, that was a big jump. This year it's up to 10%. So everyone's talking about the urban takeover. Sounds like it's the pop takeover to me. Big urban takeover that everyone is expecting me to talk about is still not the case. 56 urban acts. Now bearing in mind that 30 of those will be on the One Extra stage, it's hardly the takeover that I think everyone's expecting it to be. But yeah, it's still a big number, isn't it? You know, 56 out of, that's nearly a third. I think it's 29%. Last year was 24, 25, I can't remember, but urban making a big upcome. You know what? When you go and watch people like H or AJ Tracy or Post Malone, you can absolutely see why it's so popular. One of the things I talked about in that video that I did a year ago was it's what the kids are listening to, and if that's what the kids are listening to, that's what they need to book. It's as simple as that. But you know, still on a whopping majority, on a huge majority of 96 names, alternative music, band-driven music, guitar-based music still took the lead quite significantly at 50%. So anyone questioning whether R&L, if any of your peers or your parents or your teachers or the lecturers or whatever, if any of them are trying to convince you otherwise, they're incorrect. It is still majority alternative-driven guitar-based music festival. And I think that there's some exciting stuff happening in that world at the moment. It'll be interesting to see where it goes next anyway. Perhaps that number will get even bigger next year. Who knows? Who knows? The next kind of stat that I want to talk about is music released on independent record labels. Halfway through the Who the Fuck series, I started making note of who was playing from what record label, and there seemed to just be so many people signed to Universal that it kind of felt like it was biased, like there might be some form of conspiracy going on. So for those that don't know how the music industry works, you have record labels, right, and they pay artists to make albums and they release them on those labels. There are 3 major record companies who own so much of the music industry. Those are Universal, Warner and Sony. All of them are also film studios. Massive entertainment conglomerates. Massive entertainment conglomerates. So as I'm making these videos and doing research about all these bands, I start to notice that so many of them are signed to different labels. So I started tracking exactly where they were all signed so that I could have some form of graph. I just want a pie chart. The pie chart's going to end up on the screen now. So 25% of 25 acts out of the 193 that are announced were signed to Sony Records, or a subsidiary thereof. So they own RCA, which is probably their biggest. That share makes up 13% of the entire festival. Let's get into this lovely shaded bit here. Yeah, that makes up 13% of the entire festival, which I have to say I thought was significantly more. Next up on 28 acts was Warner. Now Warner Music own, again, so much of the music industry. 28 acts, that's 15%. And the Universal, with 41 acts, made up 21% of the entire festival, meaning that 99 of the other acts were independently signed. Now, in that independently signed, I also count people that are signed to like Disney Records and Red Bull Records, which are by no means small independent record labels, but they're not part of the major company. I'm shocked to see that 51% of the entire festival is made up with independent artists. Honestly, that figure really shocks me. I thought it might be 25 at most, but 51%, I'm so shocked by that. I'm so shocked by that number. I was so impressed. I think that's wonderful that half of that festival is made up by people who are doing it by themselves. Artists like Frank Carter signed to their own record label, making their own music, and I just think that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing, and it's something that should be celebrated. Can't believe that. Really, really, really impressed. And the next thing that I want to talk about, which I found really interesting, is a discussion that was started in 2015. A blog put an edited version of the Reading and Leeds poster up online, removing all of the bands that didn't have females in them. And what you were left with was 8 acts, which was shocking to see that females aren't represented at this festival, right? You've never had a solo female singer headline that festival. Florence and the Machine has never headlined. I've only ever seen one, that's Paramore. Before that was in the 90s, and that's garbage. And they're mixed gender bands, but they're the only time that women have taken to the main stage as a front person. Coming here to see the 1975 at the weekend. Very excited by that. I've seen these things all over Brisbane. I have no idea what they are. But I think that, that gender split is absolutely disgusting. 4% in 2015, 4% of the entire festival was made up by people that were in female members of bands. That includes both solo artists and mixed gender band. And the discussion kind of went away. Festival Republic started something called the Forward campaign or the Rethink campaign. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put a thing in there. And the idea was to give female acts and artists, give them the ability to record in the studio, and I kind of think the idea was to encourage more female bands, because I think what the organisers of the festival said was that they don't book them because they're female, they don't not book them because they're females, don't book them because there aren't enough female rock bands and people that aren't incredibly commercial pop artists. So I think that's what they said at the time. I wasn't sure about that because there's some incredible female bands that haven't been booked or played Reading before, and that surprises me. So how did this year compare? Well, 23 acts that played this year's festival out of the 193 that were announced were solo female artists or parts of female bands, and 24 of those 24 acts were mixed gender bands. So we went from 8% to 12% are all girls, or all female, and 12% are mixed, 76% are all male. So 25% of the lineup now has females in them in comparison to the 8 that there was 4 years ago. You know, I see this as a win, as it's a progression. It's clearly something that means that we're moving forward. We're clearly not there yet, because 75% versus 25%, well, versus 12% is not good enough. But, you know, I think that's moving in the right direction, is what I would say. But the conversation has to be open. This is what the poster looks like now, without any of the male bands. And I think that clearly shows that we've got room to improve, and that as long as we're moving forward, that's the important part. I'd love to see a female headliner in the next few years. Florence, Haim, who do you think?
Me again, hi. I'm just quickly going to go through some of our Q&As. I did record some footage outside, but again, the sound is absolutely dreadful. Bebo at the Disco asks, what would your dream Reading and Leeds lineup be? Now, this question is one that I was asked quite a lot this year, but I find it a really, really interesting one to talk about. I don't really have a dream lineup. The thing that I love about going to Reading Festival, or any festival for that matter, is the lineup gets announced. I don't know half the people playing, and I spend the rest of the year getting excited about who's playing. On top of that, I've actually probably seen everyone that I want to see headline. So I've seen The Cure, I've seen Foo Fighters, I've seen Kasabian, I've seen Biffy, I've seen Rage Against the Machine, I've seen Blink-182. I'm really gutted that I never got to see Linkin Park. That was a big one. I'd love to see someone like Slipknot. But for me, it's all about those bands that I'm excited to see bands go on and do big things. So I'm excited to see Idols headline one day. I'm excited to see Catfish and the Bottlemen headline. I'm excited to see Royal Blood headline. I'm really excited to see Wolf Alice headline. Haim, for me, is someone that I'd love to see headline. Florence and the Machine hasn't headlined, and I find that absolutely bizarre. But I've seen loads and loads and loads of people headline, so it's not really necessarily about having a dream lineup, because if you go for as long as I've been going, then you kind of, the big things are gone, and it's all about the new things that are going to be big. And I think quite differently to a lot of people in that way. You know, a lot of people think that the good music's gone and done and we're kind of over it, but I'm really excited to see kind of the next hot thing, if that makes sense. Joshua Simmons asks, is Reading always like 2019? This was my first time going for the weekend, and I was left underwhelmed with the atmosphere and vibes from the actual audience. Maybe Boomtown 2 weeks before spoiled it for me. Joshua Simmons, they're very different festivals. Very different. Boomtown, I've never been to Boomtown, but I'm actually from Winchester originally. That's my hometown. They are very different festivals. And I think that with that you get a different audience, you get a different age range. I think Reading is specifically has a much younger target audience, and with that you get different music. I always had this thing, right? I mean, I've gone to lots of different festivals in my life. If you go to any of the London festivals, people go there for the fact of going there. I went to Lovebox one year, and I think that a lot of people go to those festivals to say that they were at that festival because it's on. And me and my girlfriend were watching Mike Snow. We were right at the front, and I love Mike Snow. Mike Snow, one of the greatest indie bands to grate us in the last ever. And what you have is, like, we were watching Mike Snow and everyone was just talking. And I'm like, go to the back if you just want to talk and drink, or go sit in a pub garden. I don't get why you need to be ruining this for everyone else that actually wants to be here for the music. Reading has that, but it's different because the audience is so young. I think when you have 16, 17, 18 to 20-year-olds, music is so much more important to younger people. And I think people kind of give more. So I kind of want a bit more specifics there as to what was different. But I find that the atmosphere somewhere like Reading is way more about the music, and I find that other festivals have more going on because people aren't as fussed by music. Perhaps that's just my opinion, I don't know. Erin Kelly asks, do you agree with people moshing to every fucking song, even if it shouldn't be mosh pitted to, like everyone seemed to this year? Even saw a mosh pit to Cadet Tribute by Dino, a Def tribute song. You know, the mosh pit is a mosh pit. I think it's a raw display of energy and emotion, and I'm okay with it, you know. Yeah, quite simply, I'm okay with it. If people want to mosh, then they want to mosh. Finding the sweet spot in the audience is good. If you don't want to be around people like that, like, I go to festivals and gigs sometimes with people who are moaning about that. That's why there's the back. I think, like, if you're not comfortable with it, maybe go back 5 metres. If that's still too much, go back another 5 metres. It changes quite drastically. But I think the mosh pit is a really important part of live music, and I think it's wonderful. As long as people are looking after each other, and it's fine. This is my honest answer, even if it is a death tribute song. The next question is from Henry Furth, who asks, who would you say your favourite set and least favourite? Who would you say was your favourite set and your least favourite? For me and Shikari's second set was amazing, but I found Swimmers really disappointing. Who would I say is my favourite set? I love Frank Carter. I loved Laura Jane Grace. I loved Queen Z. I loved the Amazons. I loved the Chats. I loved Ocean Alley. I loved Shikari. Probably the Chats are my favourite highlight from that. I don't know, it's probably just the poetry of me being like in Australia and them being in England while I was there. That was just something nice about that. I quite like them. My least favourite, this is by no means a dig at them as a band or them as live musicians, but I found it felt to me like the Distillers didn't really want to be there. They didn't engage with the audience very much, and there was just something around that felt forced, and I was expecting a bit more from them. But they are punk rock as fuck, and they have amazing records, so it's, you know, it's not like a dig, but there was something there. Like, they were like a 7 out of 10 in terms of how good I thought they performed. They were still great. They weren't shit by any means. They're just, I think everyone else had such a higher caliber this year. Tom Attard, what did you think of the Sherlocks doing a secret set? Do you know, I don't really care about the Sherlocks. I don't know the Sherlocks. This is no offence to fans of the Sherlocks at all, by any means. I just don't know their music, and I was so disappointed with the secret set. But I believe there's another question coming up there. And it wasn't really a secret set because they announced it on the Wednesday. Alex Penny, what did you think of 21 Pilots set? From what I saw, I thought it was great. I heard Chlorine, My Blood, which is my favourite record. I love that record. I heard Heathens from the Campsite. I didn't stay and watch the whole thing because there were other people that I wanted to see, and I'm not their biggest fan. But their stage show looked cool. I liked that the car was on fire, and I liked all that kind of stuff. I think it's great that those two guys made that. Honestly, I think they deserved to headline, and I think that it was great from what I saw. I just don't know them that much. Elliot Roebuck, will you ever do Leeds? Not gonna lie, it's so much better. Reading has nothing on at night like Relentless. That's true, but you're incorrect, because Reading is better than Leeds. It's as simple as that. Do you know what? My mum actually lives down the road from the site in Leeds. I said down the road. Leeds Festival isn't actually in Leeds. It's like right outside of town. One of the best things about Reading, over any other festival I've ever been to, is you get the camping experience, and you're right next to 2 massive Tesco's and a town and a train station. You don't have that anywhere else. It's absolutely brilliant. Being able to leave and go and do other bits and bobs is just absolutely brilliant. And I think that that would be a problem for me at Leeds, is that it's just so far out of town. It's so far out of town. The other thing there about the Relentless thing at night, I'm nearly 30, mate. I go to bed. If I'm not in bed by midnight, then you're going to have a grumpy jack in the morning. I need sleep. I don't stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't take fucking loads of pills to keep me awake all night. I go to sleep. Actually, I sleep very, very well at Reading. So I don't really care that it doesn't have anything on at Relentless. I'm planning on going to Glastonbury this year. I have the biggest anxiety about the fact that there are like bands until 5 a.m. I'm really going to struggle with that. Harrison Real, did we get WTF on TPD TV? I don't know, but anyone that watches both of my stuff and TPD stuff, perhaps you should suggest it to them, because that would be a lot of fun. Miles McDevitt, can you see Billie Eilish headlining early as next year, as many people are predicting? I have a yes and a no answer for this. I'll start with a yes. Yes, because her pull was phenomenal this year. Regardless of what people in the comments section of my vlog would think, I cannot believe how busy it was. It was so busy, and she's amazing. And I would love to see a female act, as I pointed out earlier when I was talking about female headliners and female band representation at Reading. I think she will headline, absolutely, because she's alternative and she's really cool. Her sound is really different. People love the energy that goes on. She's not like a twee pop star. She's like a force to be reckoned with. The reason I'm saying no for next year, and I'm sure I'll get branded as misogynist for this, but I want to give some context. There are a couple of set of exceptions to this rule, but when it comes to Reading and Leeds headliners, they usually have 3 albums. So when Arctic Monkeys first headlined, They literally released their third album that weekend. Let's have a look here. There are exceptions to that rule. Post Malone released his album like just after Reading. When The Killers played in 2008, they'd released 2 albums, but they were just about to release their third album. I think the only exception to that rule that I've experienced was Disclosure, who still haven't released their third album. That I'm aware of anyway. Disclosure released 3 albums or 2? Yes, they released Settle in 2013 and Caracal in 2015, which was when they headlined. So, but they're the only, maybe Razorlight, but everyone else that's headlined that since I've been going has released 3 albums. Everyone, even Post Malone, who released his album this year. So it's not that it's like you have to have it out, but it has to be on the way. Billy's released 1 album, so I don't think they'll take her back to headline next year unless she releases another new album at bare minimum. If she releases an album next year, then maybe, because otherwise it's just going to be the same set that she played this year and that would be pointless. But she is a force to be reckoned with, and I wouldn't be surprised if they booked her on 2 albums, especially after the talk of lack of female headliners at festivals is such a big thing that's going around all festivals, not just Reading. Some really interesting news articles that you can read. So I can see it happening, is the honest answer, but she needs to release at least another album. I think it would be great if she released a new album next year and we wait until 2021 and she released another album then. That would be brilliant, because then we can just it'll just be well exciting then, won't it? Plus, it'll give time for Florence to get back in the studio and Haim to build up their album over the next year, and then we can have 3 female headliners in one weekend, and I think that will be an amazing thing. God, that would be 3 great headliners: Billy, Florence and Haim. Sam FFC asks, did you catch the camp wars between brown and purple on Sunday? If not, people were chucking chairs and bottles over the hedge. I didn't. That's very naughty, but it's nothing like the purple and orange war of 2010 between Guernsey and Jersey festival goers. I used to live with a girl from Guernsey for 4 years. Trust me, Guernsey and Jersey don't like each other. Thomas Kirby, 2-part question. Did you see anyone who you wasn't expecting to like but came away glad you caught their set? Yes, the Mysterines. I thought that they were very, very good. I didn't expect to like their set as much as I did. I didn't even think I was going to be able to make it to it, but going and seeing a tiny, tiny, tiny band on the tiny, tiny stage, I think they're going to be huge, so that was exciting. And then was there anyone you saw that you were really excited to see, but then they were not as good as you thought they would be live? The Distillers. I wanted more from them and I wanted more of a connection with the audience. I didn't see that. Swoopty scoop, scoop diddy poop. Do you like being in the pit for acts, or do you go a couple of barriers back? In my opinion, if you're too far back, the experience is ruined. I agree. If you do go too far back, the experience is not ruined, it's just different. It depends on the act, if I'm honest with you. Like, I can't be asked to get through thousands and thousands of people to watch someone. Like, I'm not going to be at the front for Foo Fighters, those days are gone. So in those circumstances, as long as you're near a speaker, I think that makes all the difference, because then you get lots of noise, it sounds great. That's kind of my key takeaway here. But that was what was so good about the kind of front barrier this year, was that you could go and be right at the front and listen, whilst also being like at the back of the front. So you're close, you get all the energy, you get the vibes, but you're not cramped in like sardines and you don't feel like an idiot. So yeah, that's where I would go. As long as you get near a speaker, that's important. If you can see the stage, that's even better. If you can go to the front because it's not too busy, then also brilliant. I want to be able to nip to the toilet if I need to. Slushy FN, do you like rappers? Yes, I really like rappers. Hip hop makes up a significant part of what I listen to day to day. I love new rappers that I really like. I love YBN Cordae. I love what he's doing. Anderson .Paak was someone that I watched this year. We also saw AJ Tracey, H, Scarlord and Ghostmane. And Bakar sometimes raps. I don't think you can put him in that kind of category. I love Loyal Kana. I think that Dave is brilliant. I really enjoy people like Skepta and Stormzy and Kano and Dizzy Rascal. JME is wonderful. Giggs is brilliant. I really do like rappers, but there's a lot of shit out there, and I'm not really a big fan of the kind of UK drill stuff. For me, it takes the kind of art away from rhyming and flowing that I think is so integral to hip-hop culture. I just feel like the message is lost a little bit that came with hip-hop. If you go back and listen to like what it happened in the 70s and the kind of birth of it, then it's just so far removed from that I struggle with it. And I find I'm all more about the production, so I love beats. which is why I love people like Dre and Kanye West and people that use the vocal as another instrument. Anderson .Paak is a clear genius in this regard here. So short answer is yeah, I really do like rappers. I prefer hip hop and the culture that goes around it, and I'm glad to see that we're seeing more rappers out Reading and Leeds. I just don't like a lot of what they book. I think it's just a bit bland. Like the little pumps, I fucking hate that.
George Slater asks, very disappointed with the secret sets this year, especially with Reading Festival being known for having some of the biggest bands around the world come to secret sets, like Green Day, Queens of the Stone Age, Bring Me the Horizon, and more. But Bullet and another set from Enter Shikari for me is very disappointing, with the likes of Biffy, Bombay, Two Door, Catfish, especially Kasabian, who were massively rumoured after their tweet not being there. I have. Look, at the end of the day, yeah. I completely agree. You know, the secret set at Reading is a big thing. It's a really big thing. I can't drive home how disappointed I am that it was only 179 bands and there was no secret set. King Princess pulled out, leaving a enormous gap on the Radio 1 stage just before Billie Eilish. They decided to move H there. I think that was probably a good move. But I think that that's a bit cheeky. I think, like, especially with what Kasabian put out with their tweet, I was expecting a proper set from them. And Bullet for My Valentine isn't really a band that I've ever followed, so I can't give my opinion on whether that's good or bad. I don't really follow their work. From what I do know of them, they're not really my thing anyway. So that's not great. I heard that Drenge did a secret set on the BBC Introducing stage, as well as Another Sky, which is cool. I think there could have been someone else. Glastonbury got Foals, we got Bullet for My Valentine. That doesn't add up for me. Something went wrong with Reading's booking this year. Somewhere. I don't know what that is, but somewhere someone got it wrong. Joseph Vickers asks, how often do you leave the site and what for? Are you going to Reading next year? I will be going to Reading next year, of course. I go to Reading every year. This will be year 13, year 2020. I also plan on doing Truck and Glastonbury currently. I'd love to do some content about some other festivals as well, some one-dayers. I think we're always good. How often do I leave the campsite? On the Wednesday, I go in with my tent. We then go back and meet someone else, get the rest of our stuff, and then we go back out again to Tesco's to go get supplies like beer, some snacks, duct tape, that kind of stuff. The Thursday we probably go into town just for a mooch, meet up with some friends. Usually I'm with my girlfriend who doesn't come until the Friday, so we meet Lauren on the Thursday for lunch, and any friends that are in the area. This year we met up with Mr. Jack Bennett and I had to go get myself a new wardrobe. I then don't leave again until Sunday morning, which is when I go home and drop all my stuff off. So Wednesday's a lot of coming and going. Thursday I go once or twice. Once really, and then not it till Sunday. And then obviously I leave Sunday night to go home for the rest of the year. I think if you're leaving more than that, then especially with the co-op on site these days, there's no excuse really. We could get away with not leaving at all. In fact, next year if I've got a bit more cash behind me, I think I'll probably do that, because who wants to spend all of their time on their feet? So yeah, 4 times. How about that? 9nub asks, I didn't realise they had YouTube on the Falcon. 9nub asks, what acts disappointed you and impressed you more than you were expecting? We've gone over this already. Acts that impressed me the most was Ghostmain, in terms of what I wasn't expecting. I was expecting more from the Distillers in terms of their connection with the audience. And my last question from Max Bonson. What year was your favourite live? I thought about this over the last couple of days. 2008 was special because it was my first year. 2009 had the Magic 4 on the Radio 1 stage. That was Jack Pignate, followed by Florence and the Machine, followed by Friendly Fires, followed by Jamie T. 2010 had a wonderful year on the Sunday with Limp Bizkit, Cypress Hill and Weezer and Blink-182. 2011 was amazing because I did C6 Steve, followed by Odd Future Wolfgang, followed by Madness, which was amazing. But there was something super, super special about 2012. The first year that I went with Lauren, and I went with a good crew that year, and we just watched some great music and saw some amazing acts. So I think 2012 was probably my favourite. Although this year was brilliant, and next year is going to be my favourite always. Right, I need to go jump in the pool because it's bloody boiling. Oh, it's not that bad actually. It's warmer than it was a couple of months ago. This ridiculousness. Fuck's sake. So that concludes my Q&A section of this website. I'm going to go find a little somewhere to sit. And before we finish, I just thought it would be really good to go over some of the... I really enjoyed this year, you know, doing these videos has been so much fun. Doing things like Who the Fuck and discovering some of the most wonderful acts. People like Laura Jane Grace, Everyone You Know, The Night Cafe. You know, we discovered so much great music through doing those videos. A lot of them, I felt that I got to share my knowledge, which was really wonderful. Like, something I'm super geeky about anyway, but being able to then share that with others felt really, really great. A lot of the time, I felt that I was putting bands down. So I think Series 2 will be different. The way I want to tackle it is going to be slightly different. Because at times I felt like I was just doing it for the sake of doing it, and I don't think that's very healthy or fun for anyone. There was a point in the middle where I was doing like 3 rappers a week and I was giving them all 1 out of 10. And that's, like, I don't think anyone really wants that. So Series 2 is going to be different. I'm going to do a Who the Fuck video for every single artist that is announced on the first lineup. I'm going to cover every headliner, and then I'm just going to cover bands and artists that you comment on and want me to do. They were the most fun, because I would learn about stuff, or if there's someone that I want to do. Like Bakar, for example, I love doing that video on Bakar. I love doing videos on the stuff that I just had no idea what it was. But there's times when I'm uploading a video, it gets 23 views, and then it's just pointless. I didn't enjoy making it, you didn't enjoy watching it. But the point of the series was that I was to discover every artist playing, and I loved knowing that stuff this year. So what I'm going to do as a full project, Series 2 will have less episodes on YouTube as a total, but I plan on doing a podcast or mix or something. I've been looking into the rights of how to do this for a while now, and I think probably the best way for me to do it is to broadcast it on something like Mixcloud, where I'm not going to get copyright claims, because that's been a pain in the ass this year as well. Who the Fuck was so much fun, and I really want to cover every artist. I just don't think I want to give like 6 hours for every artist that I don't care about. What I also want to do is put more time into the ones that I do care about, and also expand into other artists playing other festivals. So I don't want to just be known for just doing Reading. I think it would be really fun to cover, like, if Fleetwood Mac end up playing Glastonbury, how much fucking fun would it be to do a 35-minute episode of Who the Fuck Fleetwood Mac? That kind of stuff I think could be thoroughly enjoyable. We're going to give it a go. At the end of the day, if you're someone that watched every single episode of Who the Fuck this year and you enjoyed it, then thank you so much. But there were some times when I didn't enjoy it, and I can tell just by looking at the stats that was the case with a lot of people as well. So we're still going to get loads of episodes. Those episodes are going to be the best episodes, and rightfully so they should be. And we're going to cover every artist in different ways. But also, them announcing stuff so late was such a pain in the ass. It would have been much easier for me to sit down and just record a 45-minute episode of me ranting on about them and playing their music, and then just uploading that the day before, than it would have been for me to do all the research, the videos, and edit them, and then end up putting them out individually late. So season 2 is going to look a little bit different, is the point I'm trying to make anyway. But it is coming back, and we're going to do more. But in terms of Who the Fuck for 2020, yeah, we're going to do the first announcement, which I would imagine will come out late October, early November, hopefully. We're going to cover every headliner, and then from there on we're just going to kind of riff it out and do it with everyone else. This is going to rely on you guys as the community to point me and help steer me into what you want me to cover, and I think that will be a lot of fun. At the end of the day, this is only as fun as it is because of the interaction. It's going to be way more fun if this is a conversation and you guys are part of it as well. So yeah, It's going to be fun. And on the end, just before I go, just to finish this off, who is it that you want to headline Reading next year? Pop your answers in the comment section. I'm going to be recording that video tomorrow, so that'll be going out at some point in the next couple of days. Let's see who we want. I'm interested in what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching all of 2019 R&L. It's time to put it to bed. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.